I'd like to call to order the regular session of the Board of Directors for Bella Vista, POA, for October 26, 2023. Thank you all for being here. Those of you who are watching us on the webcast, we appreciate you watching us. We appreciate your interest in your POA. So thank you for that time. And for those of you who are visiting us this evening, thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and we're anxious to hear your thoughts as well. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. We have all of our board members here except David Brandenburg. He has given his proxy to Jackie Gain. So we'll all represent it. Our first matter of business is the approval of the minutes. We have, first of all, the September 28th, 2023 Board of Directors regular meeting. This requires a board vote. Do I have a someone to make a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Jason.
Yes.
JB, second. Thank you. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. I see there's 9-0. Thank you. Next up is the approval of the minutes for October 19th, 2023, the board work session meeting. This is also a board vote. Do I have somebody to make a motion? Thank you, Jeff. Second. Thank you, Jackie. Does anybody have any corrections or comments regarding those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. See 9-0. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is our joint advisory committee reports. We have 3 of those, and first up is Deborah, who is our chair for the Recreation Committee. Thank you for being here, Deborah. We're anxious to hear your report.
Thank you. Good evening. All the amenities were reported to be in good condition. I know I start out with that every month. We review over 13 amenities, and to say that they are all in good condition is quite a compliment to the staff that maintains them. Thank you for all your hard work. We really appreciate it and very proud of it. Over at Metfield, they did find several boards rotting on the wooden elevated structures at the bicycle park that should be looked at. At Branchwood, we wanted to mention that there was a social media post from a member with several pictures of the paved walkway, complimenting how beautiful it was. Several people tagged on to that stating it's beautiful, gorgeous, very natural looking for a hard surface path. And another person stated, a great disc golf course, I absolutely love it. And since that, I have seen even several more posts with all the colors out there. That is a beautiful place to walk. At Loch Lomond, there has been a new flag put up on the flagpole, so thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. It looks fantastic. At Blowing Springs, the large events really are making it more and more difficult for the staff, it appears to us, to keep up with the trash removal. So our recommendation is perhaps adding more containers. And we also are suggesting to move one of the new bike racks, thank you for the new bike rack, over near the restrooms where people are laying their bikes down and against the walls. At Granton Park, our representative spoke with a gentleman who was exercising his dog. He actually runs into him there every month. And while the gentleman really enjoys the park, he does feel that the maintenance barges that are moored there so frequently are a bit of an eyesore, and so that will be looked into. And then finally at Tanyard Creek, there is a small sign on the pavilion stating you should contact Reardon Hall for rental. Enough said. Okay. And then finally under new business, Chris Stockman proposed that the Blowing Springs Park be looked at from a strategic perspective and roadmap to its future state with input from the community. The Gear Garden has brought tremendous success, but it is creating new possibilities that may conflict with the original purpose of the park? Does the mission of Blowing Spring Park need to be reaffirmed or updated? Is a tranquil camping and hiking park compatible with a higher volume, festive beer garden, or just a low-key version? Blowing Springs is a natural asset of tremendous value, and we propose that the board request a study in this area before proceeding into next season's plans. Thank you. And from the POA staff reports, Tom informed us that the last tour of the rec center has taken place and was attended by over 200 people. So it's really good to see our community coming out and being involved and knowing what's going on. And that the Trailblazer Appreciation event at the Gear Garden raised over $1,000 for trail maintenance. Great event. John over at the gun ranges informed us that attendance is up again 30% over last year. I don't know where they're putting all these people every month, but it just keeps growing. Rick informed us that the seasonal lake rangers now have been let go, but they are stocking the new pond over at Loch Lomond with bluegill, which will be released in the spring. And in November, Lake Brittany will be stocked with trout for the winter. And finally, Joan, the Haunted Mini Golf Course is set up and will run the 2 weeks surrounding Halloween. And I drive by there every day. I go up and down Reardon. There are so many people out there. It's really being well attended. The Dog Days of Summer event at Kingsdale Pool had 50 more dogs than last year, raised over $1,500 for the Bella Vista Animal Shelter. Woohoo! And finally, new lights have been added to the Metfield pickleball course. And if you haven't noticed, the tree house over there on the Bluebird Trail, it's about 85% complete. It's looking really cool. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, thank you. Our next committee meeting is November 13th, 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah, for your leadership on the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee. Next up is the Lakes Report, and I think Tom has that for us.
Lake summary, an email was read from a property owner regarding the proposed new regulation on personal watercrafts. Further discussion and voting on these new regulations delayed until the next meeting with further discussion from the subcommittee. Rick reminded everyone that the Lake Windsor drawdown begins on October 16th. The marina is closed for the season, and the POA has begun seasonal dock maintenance. And the next meeting will be held on October 6th at 2 o'clock. Each year the committee combines their November and December meetings into one, so their next meeting is on December 6th. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. And next up is our Golf Joint Advisory Committee, and chair of that is here, Ruth Hatcher. Ruth, your report.
Golf Committee met on Wednesday, October 11th, and for staff reports, maintenance, Greg Jones gave the report for key themes. Aerification went well on the courses and the greens repaired quickly. The Highlands front driving tee and target greens have been overseeded in anticipation of the Tanyard Creek project, reseeding of ryegrass and top dressing the back driving tees areas. A reminder that Scottsdale will be closed for January and February, so make your plans now. Asphalted Highlands was installed on number 8 and number 17 cart paths. Paving was completed on Maintenance Road at Bella Vista Country Club with the Village Wastewater Department. Friends of the Highland proposed a sculpture between holes 12 and 13 in the flower bed to the left of the cart path. Slides were provided during the meeting. The problem with the plants growing in that location, therefore they decided to try a sculpture instead. The Golf Committee was highly in support of the idea. Golf operations with Darrell. The 340 Bridge project construction is moving, possibly early next year for the completion. So don't expect it to be completed next week. It won't be. Tanyard Creek project is starting early in November. Slides provided for the viewing. There's teaching bays, club fitting, club repair, pro shops, bar, and simulator in one building. Creating a visual golf course on the range, be open September 1st of 2024. Ranges opened at Highlands and Scottsdale. Teaching and fitting will be held at the Highlands driving range. Winter schedules have been sent out. Today's play for information about frost, weather, and time delays should be checked before you go play golf. September rounds ended 23,130, up 449 over last year. Year to date, 165,690, up 26,306 over last year. The Pro Shop ended July 123% to budget. Range buckets, which always amazes me. September ended 8,323, down 176 from last year. It was too hot. Range buckets year to date, 66,437, up 13,657 from last year. That's a lot of buckets of balls. Tournaments for Alex Stanford. Prostate cancer tournament was full with 23 teams. Rally for the Pink, which is cancer, tournament was full with 32 teams. Future Cup will be October 20th, 21st, and October 21st and 22nd at Scottsdale Highlands in the Country Club. Veterans Day tournament is Saturday, November 9th, or was Saturday, November 9th, open for registration. He reviewed tournament calendar for next year, so some new ones could be coming. General Management, Tom, Tangier Creek Project and Kingwoods Project are approved by the board, starting Kingwoods Project in December and completing by the project in July. Bella Vista Rex has been on tour, or the last tour was opened in November 9th at 6:30, the budget presentation to the board. General information, the Friends of the Highland provide an appreciation lunch for the staff at the Highlands. And an old business, the suspension policy had an update. Darrell said the policy is working. They suspended 5 people, all 5 were guests. Darrell said if you see something, say something, but please do it the same day, don't wait. Call the Pro Shop. The next regular golf meeting will be Wednesday, November 8th at 4 o'clock right here in the boardroom. Questions, comments? Been a good year for golf.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you for your leadership of the Golf Joint Advisory Committee.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. Next up is the preliminary financial reports. Just a note for those who may be watching and for anybody who would be interested, the financial reports will be posted on the POA's website once complete. So you can always find our financial information on our website. Beth, we'll turn it to you.
All right. Thought I'd start by looking at some of the fun fall events that the teams put together. They really did a good job with movie night and Geartober, Trailblazers, Flea in the Bark, and the Not So Haunted Mini Golf. Just a lot of fun to be had. And while it is haunting season, the numbers are not haunting, so let's get into it. See what I did there? Looking at the September year-to-date consolidated results, the revenue is consolidated for water and POA together is $29,221,000, which is $1.6 million, I believe that is, better than budget, and it is also better than the prior year, even though the prior year included the cell tower sale. EBITDA is a positive $3.658 million, which is also better than budget and worse than prior year. Looking at the POA only, the chart to your right, the dark red line is 2023 actual, the bright red line is budget, and the white line is prior year. You will see for the third quarter, we exceeded revenue for the POA all 3 months and exceeded prior year and budget, both. Some of the call-outs for the month of September, food and beverage was $58,000 better than budget. Golf fees were $129,000 better. Lot resale income was $55,000 better, and investment income was $59,000 better. Worse than budget was transfer fees and past due collections. Looking at operating expenses, we started out the quarter and ended the quarter pretty much right at budget. There was a spike in August that was related to the legal settlement. Maintenance and service agreements, bad debts, advertising, and uniforms were all better than budget for the month. Worse than budget was maintenance, repairs, employee benefits, salaries and wages, and professional services. September expenses were $1.98 million. Looking at year-to-date performance for the POA only, revenue was $20,684,000, which is $1.6 million better than budget and $444,000 better than prior year. Expenses are $18,221,000, which are only $180,000 more than the budget and $1.9 million more than prior year. And EBITDA is a positive $614,000, which is $1.12 million better than budget and $1.8 million worse than prior year. So since revenue is doing so well, I thought we would focus on that a minute. The chart to the left is the same one you saw in the previous slide, but why is revenue doing so well? Well, golf course revenue is $770,000 better than budget and $763,000 better than prior year. Food and beverage is $550,000 better than budget and $643,000 better than prior year. Assessments is $122,000 better than budget, $470,000 better than prior year, and investment income $249,000 better than budget and $264,000 better than prior year. Switching to water, for revenue, the dark blue line is the current year actual, bright red line is budget, and the light blue line is prior year actual this time. You'll see that we started and ended the quarter pretty close to budget and ended the quarter pretty close to prior year also. In August, we did a little bit better. We had $988,000 of revenue in September. And with it being not a big variance in the budget, there wasn't a lot to call out for the month. We did receive an insurance compensation for a damaged fire hydrant, and water sales and capital buy-in fees are a little less than budget. Looking at expenses for the water, September expenses were $342,000. We started out the quarter a little bit more than prior year and budget, but we ended the quarter in September below budget and prior year. So water expenses that are better than budget for September are outside contracts, maintenance and repairs, and water supplies, and employees' salaries and benefits are just a little worse than budget. Year to date, the water has $8.5 million of revenue, and it's a little bit better than budget and a little bit under prior year. Expenses are $3,273,000, which are a little more than prior year and budget, and EBITDA is a positive $3,044,000, which is a little less than budget and worse than prior year. Some of the key call-outs for the water for year to date: water sales by themselves are worse than budget by $114,000, but they're better than prior year by $132,000. New service connections and capital buy-in fees are both better than budget. The water cost of goods sold is worse than budget by $138,000 and prior year by $190,000. And water meter supplies are worse than budget by $181,000 and prior year by $119,000. So which monsters are crushing their EBITDA budgets? Well, golf pro shops are killing it at $810,000 better EBITDA than their budget. Recreation's also doing really well at $159,000 better than their budget. Moving to the end, communications and marketing is $55,000 worse than their EBITDA budget. General income is $70,000 worse, and clubhouses is $110,000 worse, and water's $248,000 worse than their EBITDA. These are year to date. Looking at cash, water has unreserved cash of $4,000,000 $7,000, has $1 million in reserves. POA has $1,831,000 unreserved cash and $965,659 reserves. So at the end of September, we had a total of $7.8 million in cash. Looking at the one-pager, I think I've talked about everything except for the month-end borrowing. We ended the month with the POA owing the water department $2,035,000 and owing on the BVRC loan $2,380,000. That's it. Any questions?
Love the effects.
Thank you, Beth, so much, and thank you for your team for a wonderful presentation. You can certainly tell it's the time of the year, can't you, with the presentation? That was a lot of fun. Next up on the agenda is our open forum. This is where we have property owners who might be in person or through a letter address the board. I think we have somebody who has signed up. It's Roy Leonardo. Did I pronounce that correctly?
No O in the end, Leonard.
Leonard, I'm sorry. My apologies. That sounds better. We'd like to welcome you to address the board. As a reminder, we have a 3-minute timer that will help you in judging your time for your comments. So you have 3 minutes. Please share with us your thoughts.
Well, I want to thank everybody for us being here. After who's here is not going to really get much done, what we need done, because it's the fire department, which is the city, this is POA. We have a problem communicating with the fire department. I have it with Mr. Sims. We can't communicate, he's out of town, this and that. Your phones don't work, but anyway, that's different. We found some things that Dave put on his letter about fire hydrants. They tell us we have more fire hydrants in our area than they say. We don't have those. They are not there. We need to know why the water pressure in houses during that fire on the 27th of September hammered. That is caused by water pressure going up and down, means a valve is closing off and on. Those two houses, one across behind the court I'm in, he told me he went down his basement, he thought he had water problems running out of the field. It wasn't. Another person, another block away, same thing. That is a problem. We need to know. Plus, what I think is the fire hydrants. I know about pressure, I know about flow. We have flow, I think. The pressure is developed by a pump. That's the truck, the engine truck they call. The other truck is a ladder truck. So it comes down there. When I was standing there watching, first of all, they're saying the flow and pressure was good. Maybe out of the engine with 2.5-inch lines might have been good. Don't know. People in the neighborhood have said that water was there and then all of a sudden just kind of slowed up. And you also had a fire on Brittany a couple years ago, same thing. Good water pressure and it went just like this, down and the house burned and an explosion came. When I was standing there, they hadn't hooked the 5-inch line hook to a fire hydrant on 12 Morganshire. And when I watched it, he turned it on, and usually the hoses fly apart. You know how they do when they have a clamp at the other end. They didn't do that. Plus, it came out, and instead of making a nice sweep, it was a 90-degree turn. It sucked only half the pressure and half the water. And I stood right there. Then they came back later on with a 2-inch line, and I never saw any pressure on that line. There was a gauge there, but I wasn't going to walk in over there and do anything like that. So I don't know whether it was the right pressure. We need the fire department to come talk to us. We should all, from the neighbors, come to an area like this so we all can ask questions. You are part of it. You are now, according to opposite that Mr. Sims told me, that You did everything with water.
Thank you so much for your
3 minutes?
comments.
Okay, I
Yeah,
figured that was going to happen because there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of things that we have to ask.
Sure.
And I
Thank
wanna ask
you
a
for
lot of
taking
things,
the
and I just
time.
want to we need to talk to the fire department, and then somebody on this board needs to be there because you now are supposed to control and, should I say, check and pressure check and overhaul fire hydrants.
thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Thank you for being here and addressing the board.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. I believe we also have a letter that was sent to the board. Jessica, if I may ask you if you would read that for us.
This email is from Steve McKee. It says, here are a couple of questions left over from September 2023 board meeting. Except for the current water loan 1, we know all of the fire expenses have been paid. This makes the 2024 budget required payment, principal and interest for water loan 1 to be $300,076,800. What is the projected payment for the water loan 2? Also, unless a loan will be paid off within 12 months, should it not be classified as long-term loan rather than short-term liability? This reclassification might increase the interest rate charged. Will the POA continue to build its reserves? Again, we know what is required. Also, the reserve account should be accruing interest at roughly 5%. Is the money not in the money market fund? Many members would still urge the board to postpone the Tanyard project for a year, especially if answers are zero. Perhaps a pause is prudent. By next fall, interest rates may decline. Employment may be less costly and positions easier to fill. Other POA projects need more attention now, and the reduced bank loan, too, of $1.4 million could be used for Kingsdale without borrowing or more raising allocations from water. This also permits water to build its reserves, plan for a water tower, and take care of water line replacements. Steve McKee.
Thank you, Jessica, for reading that letter. Next up on our agenda is response to our open forum. Tom, turn it over to you at this point.
So I'll address the questions. I'll start with the email that was just read. I think what's most important is that majority of these questions are going to be answered at the community presentation to the budget. We encourage everybody to attend. It is on November 9th in this room, in the boardroom, at 6 p.m. And everybody is welcome. We will also live stream. The budget will also be presented to the community on November 16th, once again at 6 p.m. in this boardroom and live stream. We encourage everybody to attend. So those questions will be answered in a timely manner. Since we're still working on the budget right now, some of those questions cannot be answered at this time. With regards to the delay of Tanyard Creek, that project was approved by the board last month. Contracts have already been signed and the wheels are already in motion. So it would not be financially feasible to back down at this time. Regarding the recent fire, I mean, first of all, very unfortunate what occurred. It's never an easy situation. Our former CFO lost her house about a year ago, and so we experienced that, and it was very unfortunate. And my nephew lost his home about 9 months ago. So in speaking with him, it's just a horrible thing to go through. The questions you have for the fire department, I absolutely encourage you to speak with the fire department. If I don't know where Chief says it is. We're not in charge of the fire department, but if he's on vacation, I encourage you to have a little patience, wait till he gets back into town. The city does have regular city council meetings that you can come and speak, just like here. So they do have a similar forum. In the letter that was sent to the board, we did send a response, and I did want to emphasize one sentence that was provided to us by Captain Brian Huffington, which stated, "At no time was the water supply disrupted for the firefighting tactics, and the supply of water to the scene was adequate for the operation." That's what we were provided by the fire department. I don't feel it is appropriate for me to say anything further because we have been told that a lawyer has been hired. And unfortunately, once a lawyer has been hired, then all communication needs to go through our general counsel. So we are willing to look into the situation, willing to look into your concerns, but we have to be careful because we've told that a hired lawyer has been hired. So, but I'd like to circle back once again. It's a horrible situation, and we will definitely review this. And I encourage you to speak with the fire department directly, or if you need to, contact the mayor. Mayor Flynn is very receptive to public comments. He will answer calls. He will answer emails. I encourage you to contact him directly. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, I just want to clue in on that just for a second. There's clearly a lot of people here. This was a major, impactful event to them, and as it could be to any of us in Bella Vista. I can't say I know where my fire hydrant is in my neighborhood, and I think that's probably the same for a lot of people. And I know we have quite a bit of turnover at the water department, a lot of unfilled positions. Sometimes there's just new faces. So maybe it's an opportunity for our communications and marketing team to kind of work with the water department and the fire department to put out some information so people can be brushed up on that. Because if we got some citizens are out there who are actually uncovering, that's what's great about Bella Vista. People care so much that they're willing to do the work that sometimes we need to be doing. And so sometimes that only happens retroactively after an incident, but it's a chance for us to be a little proactive here. So if there's a lot of coverage out there, so if there's issues out in the village, the neighborhoods can help us find it. So I encourage us to try to find a way to communicate more with people, to let them know where that stuff exists in their neighborhood. There's probably a lot of things we can include on this on a kind of a fact sheet about your individual subdivision. So I don't know, it's something to think about for 24, and it'll be interesting to hear. Hopefully we get to hear back from you and see how those developments have happened with the city there. But Tom's right, Mayor Flynn is really receptive, and I think you'll find an open end there.
Thank you. I think I can speak for all of us on the board, for the members who had that loss, that our thoughts are certainly with you, and it is an actual tragedy, and we hope that never happens to anybody, but we do think about you, and as we do all our members who suffer something like that. Thank you, Tom, for the. Next up is an action item. We're moving on to the policy 100 definitions. That, I believe, in your packet is on page 50, if you'd like to go to that at this time. And this is going to be the first reading of 2 required readings, and it will result in a board vote. Tom, can I turn it over to you to explain that?
This is policy 1.00 is our definitions page, which is all encompassing with the remainder of the policies, and it allows us to create an understanding of when we refer to words such as association, what does that specifically mean, or board, what does that specifically mean, and from a legal context. The board recently changed my title to Chief Executive Officer, but that reference to Chief Operating Officer and General Manager is in the policies about 160 times, and as opposed to trying changing it multiple times, we're just going to change it in the definitions only. So this went through the Rules and Regulations Committee. If anybody wants additional information regarding that discussion, they can review the last video for that meeting.
Good. Thank you very much. Before we discuss that, we need to have a motion presented. Do I have a motion regarding the policy 1.00 definitions to approve that?
Yeah, Dan, I'll make a motion to approve the suggested change to policy 1.0 definitions. This is the first reading of 2 required readings.
Thank you, Jerry. And Jeff, thank you for that second. Okay, at this time, I think what I'd like to do is just go around the table so that if you have comments, wonderful. If you don't, and we've been studying this for a while, you certainly could pass to the next person. So JB, let's start with you. Any comments you'd like to make on this in this regard?
Well, we have been doing a lot of work on the rules and regs, and this is just one more little tiny thing that could be easily cleaned up now. The idea of not going and changing 187 spots, we'd be here all day going through those to receive them. So it's simply semantics, and this is why I think it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Jerry?
Yeah, the rules and regulations done a good job of going through these bylaws and policies that we have, clarifying them a lot, and like I say, it saves a lot of misunderstanding that seems to be out there with a lot of them sometimes. So I think it's a good change.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
I don't have anything new to add to that, but I'm definitely in favor of it.
Okay, thank you.
Up.
Sandy? Okay, no comments? Okay, thank you. Mike? Okay, thank you. Jackie? Okay. Jason?
I just have one comment to make, and it's more for clarification. This does not mean there's any change in responsibilities or compensation. It is just a change in terminology. So just want to make that clear.
Okay. Any other comments before we call the question? Okay, let's have a vote. All those in favor of passing the policy changes, or the definitions of policy 1.00, please raise your hand. See 2 over there, 9-0. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next section, and that is the Water Department capital expenditure. We have a vehicle replacement. Tom, do you want to explain that for us?
Yeah, one of our water department vehicles was involved in a accident. Fortunately, nobody was injured in the accident, and the other party was at fault. But our work vehicle is now demolished and needs to be replaced. We are asking for a total of $33,261. That is net of the payoff. The insurance payoff on the old vehicle was $16,800. It had a lot of miles on it. That's why the value was pretty low. And that purchase includes the total price of the vehicle, the registration, taxes, caution lights, bed liner, bed cover. So basically the all-in for this vehicle. So we're requesting $33,261 which is a straight replacement of the vehicle.
Okay, thank you. So that we can discuss this, may I have a motion to approve this? Mike?
Sure. I make a motion authorizing a capital expenditure of $33,261 for the purchase of a replacement water department vehicle.
Thank you, Mike. Second? Thank you, Jason. Again, we'll just go around the table. We've discussed this before, work sessions, but start over here with you, Jason. Any comments? Jackie? Mike? Anything, Sandy? Okay. Jerry?
No.
JB? Okay. Thank you. We have discussed this before, and we know what the parameters are. So at this point, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Count 9-0. Thank you so much. That is passed. That brings us up to our announcements. This is the time of the year when things somewhat change in terms of some of our regular meeting times. So if you'll indulge me, I want to make sure that we're all clear. I'm going to read the announcements that we have that take us through December. So starting off, the November and December board meetings have moved up a week due to the holidays. This is something I think that we traditionally do. So first, the budget meeting, Thursday, November the 2nd at 9 a.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club. This is a closed meeting. Please note that the start time and the meeting should conclude before 4 p.m. Next up, the budget follow-up meeting. That will be Monday, November the 6th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom here at the Country Club. Again, this is a closed meeting for the board to be presented and ask questions regarding the budget. The next up, the Golf JAC meeting will be Wednesday, November 8th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. The budget presentation to the community. I'm highlighting this one because those of you watching at home, our guests and visitors, we encourage you to attend. The budget presentation to the community will be Thursday, November 9th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom here at the Country Club and also via live stream. Please take notice of the start time of this meeting. That will be at 6 p.m. Next up, the Recreation JAC meeting, Monday, November 13th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom and live stream. The Board of Directors regular session will be Thursday, November 16th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom here at the Country Club, and again, as always, through live stream. The Lakes JAC meeting will be Wednesday, December 6th at 2 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. And note, the Lakes JAC combines its November and December meeting at this one time. Next up, the Board of Directors General Manager meeting will be Thursday, December 7th at 2:30 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club. This is a closed meeting. The Recreation JAC meeting will be, the next one will be Monday, December 11th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. The Golf JAC meeting will be Wednesday, December 13th at 4 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. The Board of Directors work session will be Thursday, December 14th at 9 a.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. And the Board of Directors regular session will be Thursday, December 21st at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club and via live stream. I'm sure everybody jotted all of that down, but in case you need a refresher, that's available on our website as well. And with that, I thank everybody for attending. Those of you who are here and those of you who watch us live stream, we're going to be ending at this time. Do I have a motion to close our meeting?
So moved.
I have a move and a second. We are adjourned.